Join us as we journey back through the ages, delving into the latest archaeological discoveries, the wildest theories, and the enduring enigma of Stonehenge. We'll explore the incredible feats of engineering, the beliefs of the people who raised these mighty stones, and the cosmic connections that may lie at the heart of this breathtaking monument. Tonight on Newsworthy, two words and two question marks.
He's alive! Have you checked the children? Get out!
You have scoured the podcast world and finally found us, Newsworthy with Steve and Jerry, where we delve into all things mysterious, macabre, or out of this world, and decide if they are truly newsworthy. Two words and two question marks.
Hi, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. Buying your first home can be overwhelming, but here are 5 tips to make the process go smoother. Number one, find a lender, me, Ed Locke, that can answer any questions you might have and help you get pre approved. There are multiple options available based on your situation. Number two, work with a real estate agent you can trust. Number three, don't rush the process. Take your time and know that the process could take some time. Number four, consider all the costs. Number five, get a home inspection and review it with your realtor. Keep these tips in mind, budget for yourself, and you'll be that much closer to making your dream of homeownership a reality. So reach out to me at 502-680-0953. NMLS ID 448908, DAS Acquisition Company, LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, NMLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is an equal housing opportunity.
Brett's favorite part, Jerry, and he's not even here tonight to enjoy it. My guy is in southern Africa hunting dingoes.
I know. Can you believe it?
I know, it's crazy. I don't understand why he does the things he does. I don't. I wish I had the ability to go to southern Africa and hunt dingoes. I'm not sure that I would. I'm not much of a hunter. As many of my friends will attest, I hunt Kroger.
Don't enjoy it
No, not really.
like any part of it.
No, I used to years ago, but I've gotten to where I probably wouldn't much enjoy it.
I used to enjoy it like you years ago.
Hmm.
I don't remember the last time I went hunting. It's probably been 30, 40 years, so I could very well be like you. I have no idea.
Yeah, my father-in-law hunts, and they hunt to do a lot of deer hunting down in Tennessee. They enjoy it. They eat, but see, there's the catch. They eat what they catch, and I don't. So it's kind of pointless. I don't. I'm not one of those people that believe you just go hunt
I agree.
to kill
That
something to be killing it.
100% agree. Now, there is a point, depending on where you're at. I think I mentioned it before. When I lived in Fredericksburg for many years, there was a large deer hunting group who had found a meat processing plant that would, if you brought the deer there and dropped them off, they would process them for free and give it to the local food banks.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. So it allowed people who love to hunt but didn't want to eat it
Yeah.
to and get their enjoyment, but still be helpful to other people, not waste the animal. I agree. I don't care, if it's fishing, hunting, whatever. Don't kill it. If you're going to put it back, catch and release, you can do that with fish. Can't shoot them and kill a deer and put it back.
Yeah, I love
But
fishing.
yeah,
Not very good at that
just
either,
don't
but I
kill it.
love it.
Don't kill it if you're not going to eat it. If you do, by all means, kill it and eat it.
Yeah. Don't tell my buddy Ray that I admitted that I'm not a very good fisher, but I'm not.
I don't think you understand.
What?
He's been fishing with you. He already knows. Messing with you. You're a far better fisherman than I am.
Oh man. So if you guys heard last week's or this week's encounter episode, I hope that you give that a listen. It's only 10 minutes long. I implore people in that whole episode simply to wear, if you ride a motorcycle, please wear your gear, at least a helmet, half helmet, preferably full face, but a lot of people won't do that. I get it, but something. My gear saved my life 2 weeks ago. So just going to throw that out there. Didn't help my looks, but
Did it really need helping?
you're
In
right.
your opinion?
You're right.
There you
But was in a pretty bad motorcycle wreck. Been riding almost 35 years or so, a little longer. And the one thing I can say is I never had developed the attitude that it wouldn't happen to me. This particular place, the accident took place. Even the state trooper said there was nothing I could do to avoid that accident. And
even to the point that it happened in another state that
Yeah.
has a law where they automatically give tickets
Yeah.
when there's an accident.
Yeah.
You were there was no one else. You didn't collide with another person. So they were at first told you they were going to give you an accident or a ticket for the
yeah.
accident. After taking 2 or 3 looks at it, he called you back a week or so
The
later.
next night,
The next night,
Yeah.
and said, I've taken another look at this and I can't determine in good faith that you had any choice,
Yeah.
that this was in any way your fault, and told you that he was rescinding the ticket.
which is kind of unheard of, but
Yeah.
he sure did, and did that. Thank you, trooper in Ohio. Anyone who may happen to listen to this show and had anything to do with that, everybody from the very beginning to now that helped me was amazing. When you're that far from home and you're alone, which I often rode alone, I went up to see the Great Serpent Mound, which is kind of what the type thing we're talking about tonight.
Absolutely.
And was on my way back home from that. But, when I had basically a car stopped in a 55 mile per hour zone, literally stopped in the middle of the road in a curve going up a hill to make a right-hand turn into a driveway. Couldn't go around because couldn't see what's over the hill. Didn't want to hit the car. They had 3 kids in the back seat hopping all over the place. I'd followed them from the little town, so there wasn't a seatbelt to be had in the back seat. And I'm not even sure. I know they didn't use a turn signal. Not even sure if brake lights worked on the car. Avoided the car, put the bike down. But yeah, the whole point of that is lots of experience, 30 plus years experience riding. On good equipment, I meticulously maintain my bike as far as chains and brakes and tires and all that. And still, had I not had my equipment, I would have died right there on State Highway 41 in Ohio. Because
the marks on your helmet alone.
Yeah,
proves that.
It literally, I wear a full face helmet. I have scratches from one side of my visor all the way around to the other. It would have peeled my head like an apple.
Yeah.
My jacket, my gloves, my pants, all shredded because they did their job. They protected me. I had 2 little spots of road rash, one on my stomach where the jacket pulled up, one on my knee where my pants had rubbed so much it pulled the knee stitching. They were riding pants, so they had Kevlar stitching, but it still melted that, I guess, and went through and had some rash on my knee. But walked away from this in relatively good shape. I literally broke my arm after hitting the pavement at 45 or 50. I'm not sure which. It's not too damn bad. I'll take that every day.
Again, like you said earlier, it's all thanks to the equipment. So
Yeah.
as good as that equipment is, it doesn't really matter if you're not wearing it. So
Right.
hopefully someone out there will remember this the next time they even contemplate not wearing a helmet or
Even if it's just your helmet. I think I covered a statistic that showed with motorcycle crashes with helmets is 62% less likely to have a traumatic head experience. 62%.
That's huge.
That's huge. 37% less fatalities if you're wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
Again, huge. Kentucky is a state has a law that requires you do not have to wear a helmet. And we see them all day long, every day.
We do.
And I just see these folks and I get it. You know, there's a cool factor to not wearing your helmet, putting your hat on backwards. You got your beards, you know, whatever. And the pavement does not care how pretty your face is.
Yep. Is Ohio the same way? Do they require helmets or
No,
do you know?
according to now, I don't know, to be honest. So if I'm wrong, Ohio, please let us know in the comments. But the ER doc didn't seem to think so, because that was his first question: were you wearing your gear?
So you could have easily, if that were the case, you could have easily decided, yeah, I don't need my equipment for this beautiful
Yeah.
drive on
Yeah.
this. You know, it was a beautiful day,
Gorgeous day.
gorgeous weather, and I'm sure a lot of the people who like to ride without their equipment would have done so on that day. Not a, you know, not a cold day. I can see why if you're cold, some people might, go ahead and put it on. It's not going to burn me up.
It's when it gets hot, it's when it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
But thankfully you did have it on. Thank goodness.
So, and also I had crash bars on my bike. So,
And they worked.
and they absolutely did their job.
Yep.
Celeste will ride again at some point. I mean, I've got to take several months to heal, but Celeste will definitely be back on the road. She's fixable and actually run. It was running when I put it back in the shed, so everything's good there. Anywho, didn't mean to go off on a tangent there, but I did feel like it's the time of year that we should probably just bring that up. You know, you do you're an adult, but if you've got children at home, you've got a wife at home that you love, if you've got, you know, family that loves you, just at least consider a half helmet, some sort of protection. Anything is better than nothing. Even a $40 Amazon helmet is better than nothing. I was always told when I started riding, you buy the absolute best gear you can afford. If that's a $40 Amazon helmet, it's a $40 Amazon helmet. And as soon as you can afford more, you get a $100 Amazon helmet or a $200. I've got up on my shelf behind Jerry, I've got 3, and I got another one over there, and there's $1,000+ in helmets there, you know, because you only have one head. I've got 4 or 5 different jackets. Not only do I have jackets to do all the things, but I also look good with my jackets. I got them to match my bikes. And, but, you know, I had leather riding gloves, and they were just shredded. I mean, my hands wouldn't have been movable if I didn't have gloves on. It was, again, I probably wouldn't be here. And if I was here, I wouldn't want to be real honest.
So again, PSA of the day, wear your safety equipment. And that's true. You know, if you're in a car, you don't have to have a helmet, put your seatbelt on.
Right.
And I'm preaching to myself a lot because I'm bad about not doing
Me
that.
too.
Thankfully, I'm getting a little bit more in the habit of go to pick up my 2 grandsons twice a week from daycare and bring them home. And my oldest sits directly behind me, and he looks for it and tells me immediately, "Pop, you need to put your seatbelt on."
Well, good for him.
Absolutely. It's getting me more, you know, you if nothing else, you want to set a good example for the
Sure.
younger generations. I'm trying to for him.
Now, did you see the truck that had overturned over here full of Vicks Vapor Rub?
I did not. I missed that.
Yeah, well, there was no congestion for over 8 hours.
Oh, well, that's can beat no congestion. Apparently, when I lived in Fredericksburg, Virginia, that was part of our problem. We needed some more Vicks trucks to overturn.
Thank you, Kevin Hall, for that wonderful dad joke.
Yes, Kevin.
love it.
your jokes.
We love when our listeners and our former guests continue to send us dad jokes. We love those.
Absolutely.
So we got to have Kevin back on the show soon.
Speaking of Kevin, I was very creative this
Oh.
week.
You were?
Yeah. I actually wrote a poem about the bottom of the ocean.
Oh,
It's pretty deep.
wow.
That's all I get is an exasperated sigh from that one. You know you like that.
Ooh, it was pretty deep. That's
I thought so.
that's true. My goodness.
I don't know many that wouldn't say it is.
Mm, 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 mm. The depths this show goes to entertain.
Very true.
That's crazy. Anyhow,
Very true.
we got a really cool topic tonight.
We
Again, Brett's hunting dingoes in South Africa, so he won't be here. Instead of doing that, he could have went and researched this topic hands on. He's done that in the past, but
And he's a very good researcher.
so
He actually, on the Shroud of Turin, changed. I don't know if any of our listeners noticed, we did this Shroud of Turin, what, a year and a half ago?
mhm,
And at that point in time, neither you nor I thought it needed more coverage.
right.
And thanks primarily to Brett and the research that he did at the end of the show, what was it, a month ago or so,
Yeah.
when we redid Shroud of Turin, all three of us said that we thought it needed more coverage. And I know for me, I can't answer you, but for me, it was 100% because of
Oh yeah.
the research that Brett had done and the new insights that he brought to the table.
I would agree. And tonight's episode is not the Shroud of Turin, but a ancient artifact of sorts. Actually, it's more of a place.
Yep.
That I can't believe in almost 3 years we haven't already covered.
We've not done a full
Touched
show.
on it.
We've touched on it 2 or 3 times.
But it's definitely worthy of a full show. Jerry, tell us about what we're talking about tonight.
We're talking about a site, as you said, a few thousand years old, Stonehenge. Stonehenge is believed to have been built in phases. It started around 3100 BC. It's when they began. So, yeah, 2100, 5200 years ago, it's when they believe that the construction on Stonehenge first began. They think that it ended somewhere around 1600 years ago. So it took almost 1500 years for it to be completed. Phase 1, starting again around 3100 BC, the late Neolithic period, is when the circular bank in the ditch was originally built. And the initial phase involved the creation of the bank in the ditch that's about 110 meters or 360 feet in diameter. And the circular bank and ditch are still clearly visible today, over 5,000 years later. So again, that's providing evidence of some of the earliest parts of the construction. The Aubrey holes, a ring of 56 pits, were dug inside the bank. And these pits originally held timber posts, and in later years, they were used as burial grounds for human remains. The Hillstone, a large Saracen stone, was also part of Phase 1. It was erected outside the entrance to the circle. So that's the parts of the Phase 1 that occurred originally. Phase 2 started around 2900 BC, continued for approximately 400 years. And during this time period, there were timber structures. Evidence suggests that additional timber structures were erected within the enclosure during this time period. And these might have been posts arranged in various patterns. The possible stone setting, there's some debate, but there's a few bluestones, which are smaller stones transported from the hills in Wales. They might have been erected during this time period.
Now,
Although the
but-
main, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, you say smaller stones.
Right.
How big is a blue stone?
Hold on 1 second. Some of them are up to 16 feet tall and weigh up to 6 tons.
Yeah. So to me, that's like a big deal. I just wanted to bring that. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Minute Bowl was how tall?
Big.
7 foot, 7, 8.
Mm-hmm. Weighed 12 pounds.
Yeah, really. But not 8 foot, but getting up there. We're
Mhm.
talking about something twice the height of Minute Bowl.
Yeah.
The tallest person I ever saw play in the NBA.
Yep.
So yeah, when you said it's a big deal, literally, it's a very big deal. 16 feet tall.
Well,
6
if
tons.
and the reason I wanted to point that out is because if you've never seen Stonehenge and you hear someone talk about blue stones, it's very difficult to wrap your head around just how big these stones are.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to give some context.
Now, we throw words like tons
Yeah.
around a lot. A ton is 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
6 tons is 120,000 pounds. That 6 times 2,000.
Oh yeah, it's 12,000.
12,000. I'm sorry, got an extra zero there.
12,000 pounds.
12,000 pounds.
That is the size basically of an unloaded semi.
Yeah. That's earlier you said a huge deal.
Yeah.
It literally is. So again, that phase 2. Phase 3A, why didn't they just do phase 3 and phase 4? I don't know, but they call them phase 3A, 3B. Phase 3A began around 2500 BC, lasted for a couple of hundred years. This is when the Bluestone Circle was constructed. These stones were transported over a considerable distance. They were sourced from the southwest Wales, over 200 miles away. We'll get to that a little bit more in a minute. The bluestones were likely arranged in an inner circle and possibly even an outer oval. The unique stone lying at the center of the monument, called the altar stone, was believed to be from the same area until last summer, when a study by the University of Exeter archaeologists determined that that stone is actually from the tip of northeast Scotland, which is not 200 miles away, but more than 460 miles away. Again, that stone,
Jeez.
16 feet tall, believed to weigh approximately 6 tons, 12,000 pounds, not 120,000, 460 miles.
2 freaking F-150s. Just as an example.
460 miles. We live in, as we've said many times, central Kentucky. To give you an idea of that, 460 is almost 500. It's 1,000 miles from here to Florida. Not to Florida, down to beach area in Florida, southern Florida. You were talking about half the distance from central Kentucky to southern Florida.
On a 16-inch or 16-foot stone that weighs 6,000 pounds, when we haven't invented the wheel yet.
5,000 years ago. Close to 5,000 years. Yeah. That was phase 3A. Phase 3B began around 2300 BC, lasted for roughly 100 years. This is when the Saracen Circle and trilithons were constructed. A circle of 30 massive Saracen uprights were erected, topped by a continuous ring of 30 lintel stones, carefully shaped and joined. And within the Saracen Circle, there were 5 enormous Saracen trilithons, 2 uprights with a single lintel. They were placed in a horseshoe arrangement, with the tallest being over 7 meters, 23 feet high. These were meticulously dressed and jointed using sophisticated techniques. And if 3A and 3B weren't enough, there's also a 3C. Began around 2200 BC, lasted for 600 years until around 1600. The bluestones were reconfigured. They were rearranged multiple times during this phase. At one point, they appeared to have been set up in a horseshoe shape within the Saracen horseshoe, and later a circle was formed between the Saracen circle and the horseshoe. The Y and Z holes, 2 further rings of pits that are called the Y and Z holes, were dug outside of the Saracen circle. Their purpose is largely unclear. It's believed that they possibly may have been used to hold timber posts or bluestones that were later removed. The site continued to be used for burials and other activities for centuries. Fragments of Neolithic and Bronze Age pottery have been found in the area, providing dating evidence and insights into the cultural affiliations of the people that were using the sites. Excavations have uncovered numerous items that have given us some idea of how and when Stonehenge was constructed. Hammerstones, flint tools, other implements used in the construction and maintenance of the monuments have been discovered. antler picks used for digging the ditches. Think about that for a minute. They were using antler picks for tools, for implements to help them dig ditches. Not like if you had in today's world with good quality shovels. It's not like that wouldn't be hard enough, but imagine if they took away your shovels and said, here, you've got some antler picks for that. Later Bronze Age metal objects have also been found in the surrounding landscape associated with the barrows. So a little bit of the history, the time frame involved. What do you want to add to that for the history of
Well,
Stonehenge?
So what I would like to add to it is what I'd like to bring the question is the why. This thing is, if you look at diagrams of it, and we'll post a diagram on the website here. It is, I won't say it's I'm kind of speechless about it, to be blunt, because it is definitely something that has, like, when I went to the Serpent Mound, one of the biggest questions I had is why? You know, why waste this time, these resources to do this? The same thing with Stonehenge, except the difference is Stonehenge at least looks like it could be used for something important. It could ceremonial or astrological, marking the summer solstice or whatever the case may be. And it's like, I see it, and then I see it, and then I'm like, there ain't no way that people of this time frame was even if you can convince me that you could drag these 16-foot, 6,000-pound stones 250 miles, and then figure a way to put them in the dirt where they would stand up. I'm with you. Okay, you've convinced me, whatever. But now you're going to take and put a perfect concentric ring around the top of those of the same size or bigger stones to hold it in place? I'm out. I'm not going to lie. I'm out. It's crazy. Now, human ingenuity is pretty intense. I get it. But gosh, it's like we was talking about before we went on air. I just can't imagine a civilization spending the type of resources and manpower to do this when there were more important things to be done at that time frame.
Like what?
I don't know. Growing food, harvesting sheep, conquering other neighboring villages, plundering.
Do you know, to me, what would probably beat conquering your evil neighbors who are trying to take over your country? To convince them that you're so awesome, so mighty, so powerful that they have no chance of ever beating you should they invade you.
I absolutely agree.
You don't think building something like this would send that exact signal to the rest of the world?
Yes, if you built it in 10 years. This thing was built over 1,500 years. It kind of loses that.
Oh, you really think that someone 1,500 years later would say, you know, I'd have been impressed if you finished this. We have no idea, no earthly idea how you did it. Our civilization can't come close even today. But the fact that it took you so long to do it means, nah, I'm not impressed. Screw it. We're going to invade you anyway. I don't think so.
I think the English Channel had more to do with them not getting invaded more than Stonehenge. But just a lot of crazy stuff. And speaking of crazy stuff, you want to hear some wonderful conspiracies, some rabbit hole stuff as far as Stonehenge is involved.
Sure.
Man, I got lots of stuff. So you've one of my favorites, and this is one of my favorites. Now, just because let me preface this by saying, just because I'm bringing this to your attention does not mean that I believe in each of these rabbit hole theories. Okay. Fair enough.
Sure.
Okay. One of the earliest myths about Stonehenge comes from medieval folklore, which claims that the wizard Merlin magically teleported the stones from Ireland with help of giants. According to Geoffrey of Monmouth's History Regum Britannia, Merlin advised King Aurelius Ambrosius to retrieve magical stones from Mount Calaris in England or in Ireland to serve as a burial site for Britain's dead princes. However, when the soldiers failed to move the stones, Merlin used his own machinery and devices to transport them to England. How about that? Little magic up on there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Earlier, you said that just because you're going to mention these theories doesn't mean you necessarily subscribe to them.
Correct.
Just an FYI. At the end, I'm going to ask you how many you do subscribe to.
Okay, fair enough. Druids and ritual sacrifices. In the 17th and 18th centuries, some scholars believe that Druids, ancient Celtic priests, actually built Stonehenge as a temple for sun worship and ritual sacrifices. This theory was popularized by antiquarian William I'm going to say his name wrong, but it looks like Stuckley, who argued that the Druids used the site for ceremonies. However, modern archaeology suggests that Stonehenge predates the Druids by thousands of years. How about an alien landing site?
I've actually saw this one.
One of the more outlandish theories suggests that Stonehenge was actually built by aliens, or at least served as a landing pad for extraterrestrial spacecraft. Some proponents of this theory argue that the massive stones, weighing up to 50 tons, simply couldn't have been moved by prehistoric humans without advanced technology. However, archaeologists have demonstrated that ancient people could, in fact, have transported the stones using sledges and rolling logs. The one thing, one of the other things that some researchers believe that Stonehenge was a place of healing. Archaeologists have found skeletons near the site showing signs of illness or injury, suggesting that people once traveled there seeking cures. Additionally, fragments of the blue stones, the first stones erected at the site, appear to have been chipped away by ancient people, possibly to be used as talismans for protection or for healing. Also, and this is one of the things I'll just keep it. A sound illusion. Another theory proposes that Stonehenge was designed to create a sound illusion. Researcher Stephen Waller, he's got a great first name, by the way, suggests that if two pipers were to play their instruments in a field, a listener would notice a strange effect where the waves could cancel each other out, creating an auditory illusion. Some people believe that Stonehenge's circular construction was meant to mimic this phenomenon. And here's the one that really blows me away, talking about moving these big rocks. A recent archaeological discovery suggests that Stonehenge itself may have been originally built in Wales before being completely dismantled and moved to its current location in Wiltshire, England. Evidence from the Preseli Hills in Pembrokeshire, my goodness, indicates that the stones were used in a different monument before being transferred to Stonehenge centuries later. While these theories range from plausible to downright bizarre, it is one of the biggest mysteries. And I actually have a couple of more that I want to bring up.
Sure.
Because they're just too good not to. Let's talk about the fact that Stonehenge was built by the survivors of a technologically advanced civilization such as Atlantis. Some believe that Stonehenge is a remnant of a pre-ice age global civilization that passed on advanced knowledge, e.g. geometry, astronomy. The use of sacred geometry and its alignment with other ancient monuments around the world using ley lines suggests a shared origin, or at least a shared influence. Now, there is no known archaeological evidence of such a civilization existing in Britain during the Stonehenge's construction, circa 3000 to 2000 BCE. Stonehenge holds esoteric knowledge that has ties to ancient societies such as the Freemasons or the Druids. Some claim the site encodes secret knowledge of sacred geometry, numerology, and astrological cycles, which has been preserved and protected by secret societies. The Freemasons, in particular, are often linked to megalithic monuments in some conspiracy lore, believed to be descendants of ancient builders or keepers of lost knowledge. I'm not even getting into the time travel ones because that's even a little deep for me. Suffice it to say that some people actually believe that we built it, we went back in time to build it as a warning to us in the future. A little bit.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Why you didn't just
Lead with that?
leave? Why didn't you just have a time capsule, which you had a couple of books? No, let's spend thousands of years creating this.
I told you.
Makes perfect sense to me.
One of my favorites, that the military or the government has covered up the original origin. The true origin or purpose of Stonehenge is being concealed by the modern Britain government. There have been claims of restricted digs and withheld findings suggesting that the authorities have discovered anomalous artifacts or buried technologies. Photos from the 20th century show reconstruction efforts at Stonehenge. Some conspiracy theories that claim that this proves that the monument is a modern fabrication or heavily altered to suit a narrative. That's crazy.
It is, but you know what? We've talked about it with Roswell with so many different things, and apparently it's certainly not limited to the United States government. It's
Right.
Great Britain and probably every other country in the world. Governments lie, and
Oh,
when
yeah.
they do, that's why whenever there's something unexplained, people begin saying, "I wonder what they're covering up. I
Yeah.
wonder what they're lying about now." So the governments and their lies are to blame for a lot of these crazy conspiracy theories.
So, and this is the final one that I'm going to cover tonight. The global megalithic network theory. Stonehenge is one node in a global network of ancient energy sites or ley lines. Proponents believe that Stonehenge sits at a key intersection of Earth's magnetic or spiritual energy lines, often called ley lines. Some think that these sites form a global communication or ancient power grid, possibly used for spiritual and or technological purposes in antiquity. There you go. Some conspiracy theories about Stonehenge.
And we can say whatever we want about ley lines, and it's all what if.
Yeah.
There's no proven facts as far as I know. All I know is that there is a ton of things involved on ley lines that we cannot explain. I
Right.
will say that about ley lines. It's not just in Great Britain, it's throughout the entire world. So
I think a lot of that has to do with energy. There's a lot of, when we interview Sadhu Da, he's going to talk some about energy. When we interviewed Julia Marie, it
Yes.
was a talk about energy. When we talked to Kevin Hall about life, it was a lot about energy. And I think that that's something that we have a very
limited understanding of.
limited below basic understanding
I
of
agree.
how things works. And we were talking earlier about the pyramids and how you build these. Some sort of a vibration technology where you use musical instruments or whatever to create that perfect vibration. I wouldn't be opposed to buying into something like that if you could prove that it works. Renaissance, I think, is what it's called. Is that right?
I think so.
So, anywho,
So I asked you earlier, or I give you forewarning earlier, and now we'll ask you, how many of these conspiracy theories do you believe?
about three that I think could hold some validity, to be honest.
Which three? You don't mind? Not to
Um,
pin you down, but exactly which three?
well, I don't believe Merlin had much to do with it.
Good.
I I wouldn't be so opposed to a ancient temple or something used for astronomy. I don't believe the aliens built Stonehenge. I feel like that's to what end? You know, it's a few rocks. That doesn't help them in any way. I would be more apt to believe that aliens had more help with the Nazca lines in Peru, because those at least can be seen as a guide marker. You can't see Stonehenge from space, so I feel like it becoming a place of healing was an after effect. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it was built for that. I think that people, a lot of times, one guy had a cold when he went up to it and he left and he stopped sniffling, and that started the process, you know. Sure. I'm not opposed to some of the others though. Let me find the ones that I really I am a big believer, and until proven otherwise, I am always, I think, going to believe that we had civilizations before the Younger Dryas that were very advanced. I think that the Ice Age knocked us pretty much back down to sticks, but I'm not opposed, and I'm not necessarily Atlantis, but a lost civilization of advanced people to begin with. I could buy into that, to be honest. And I could even buy into that it had something. It's done that way because I think the fact that ancient civilizations and ley lines kind of go hand to hand, that they knew what that was for, and it kind of goes together. So I would do both of those, and I wouldn't even be opposed to that if you wanted to figure out some sort of Druid revival or that the Freemasons had a hand in it. Not necessarily the Freemasons as they are today, but an ancient building group of people who had knowledge of how to do this stuff. We see these things come up all over the world where they're not supposed to be. Göbekli Tepe is an example. That wasn't supposed to be there, but there it is, you know, at that time frame. The pyramids probably shouldn't be there, yet there they are. Not only are they there, but they're all over the world to disconnected groups of people. So, and we had the same thing with, you know, monolithic statues or structures.
I agree. I could believe a little bit of everything you mentioned, except for the ancient civilizations being involved in the building of this. There's too many stories that have been handed down from people who lived during the time it was being built. And as far as I know, no stories involving that. So I can't imagine those
Well, that's
people.
what they would want you to say.
Exactly. The government forbid them to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Must be. That would explain.
I mean, let's just do it. Let's be right about it. So, Stonehenge. I think Stonehenge has got to be on my bucket list to go see.
It would be so cool to see that.
Just because I was really blown away by seeing the Great Serpent Mound and how that affected me. How many questions that it made me come up with in my mind, because I was expecting it to be a big rock snake. It was, 20, 30 feet long, and that's not it at all. It's a quarter mile long. It's 10, 12 feet wide at some spots, and it is definitely looking out over the valley. It took years to build that, and it took skilled laborers to build that, and it took time away from hunting, gathering, and defending your turf to build that. So it just left me with all of these questions.
And it's even more so, I think, than Stonehenge, because as you had mentioned earlier, this one you can see from space. The people building it couldn't.
Right.
When it was being built, no one was in space. No one was
Someone was even in the air.
No, exactly. No one was in the air.
They have a platform there that was shut down, unfortunately, due to repairs. but you have to climb like a 40-foot platform to be able to look down and actually see it in its glory. I mean, you can look at pictures and Google it or whatever, but to see it,
So who was it built for? At
Right.
least Stonehenge, anyone and
then-
everyone there could
yeah,
see its awesomeness.
this not so much. And it's
Exactly.
like, so I never thought that these type monuments would be something I would be interested in actually going to see until I did it, and now I want to see them all. So,
How long? Totally off the rails here. Totally separate tangent. How long do you think it will be before we have 3D technology that will allow you to see any and all of this and to walk around it and look at it and examine it the way you want
oh,
with
dude,
3D technology?
not long.
Not yet. We're not far
Yeah.
away from that.
Yeah.
Not far away at all.
You know, that's great. We have, I just saw an article that showed that Starbucks opened its very first 3D printed restaurant.
Really.
It took them like
Hadn't heard of that.
5 days to build
Not
it.
surprised, but yeah. They've got 3D printed homes now. There are
Yeah.
companies that are 3D building homes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
But anywho, Stonehenge, Jerry.
There's way, way too many unexplained aspects of it that we don't understand fully.
Why don't these things come with a freaking
Yeah,
instruction
really.
manual?
Exactly. Not only of how to use it, but
Why?
why? Why did you do it?
Yeah.
What was your intent? What was the purposes? How did you move these 6-ton stones 460 miles?
And here's
All
the
of it.
thing, and I brought up the 1500 years for a very specific reason. Humans typically don't have an attention span of that long. That's one of my biggest arguments about the pyramids. And they say that it took, thousands of years to build. And I'm like, humans don't have that kind of attention span. I mean, today we don't. We have the attention span of goldfish, but
But I mean, you
Even back
can, but it
then.
would require a huge group of people to have something they believed in wholeheartedly.
that you're going to hand down through
And
generations.
how could we have lost the ideas? I mean, we have some guesses, some hypotheses of what possible reasons for building it were, but it's just that.
Yeah.
How did we lose all of these great ideas of we're building this because we
Right.
want to accomplish this? We don't know those things.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
So yeah, to answer your question, until we get all those things figured out, it definitely needs more investigation and more coverage.
Thumbs up from Jerry and me. You said it perfect. It's just there's so many unanswered questions. There's so much that we simply don't know. That and we're still getting news about Stonehenge. One of the articles that you incorporated came out a week ago,
A few weeks ago.
a few weeks ago.
Let me find it here really quick. The parts of the Bluestone Circle, the unique stone lying in the center, that was always believed to have come from the Pressley Hills area of Southwest Wales that you were talking about, 220 miles away. It was last summer when they figured out that those actually came from the northwestern part of Scotland, which is over 460 miles away. So yes, thankfully we are still there. Thankfully they're listening to us. They are continuing the investigations thanks to our prodding.
That's
But
good.
yes, they are still investigating Stonehenge, and it's easy to see why.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an interesting episode, but our journey isn't over yet. If you stay tuned, we have an exciting bonus story coming up after this commercial break.
Hi, this is Ed Locke with USA Mortgage. When it comes to buying a home, the process can be overwhelming and confusing. With so many options, it can be hard to know where to start. That's why it's important to work with a certified mortgage loan originator. I have the knowledge and expertise to guide you through the process and find the best mortgage option for you. I will work with you every step of the way to ensure that you are getting the best deal possible. So if you're looking to purchase or refinance, please reach out to me at 502-680-0953. So don't take on the stress of buying a home alone. Work with me and I will make your dream a reality. Trust the professionals and make your home buying experience a positive one. MLS ID 448908, DAS Acquisition Company, LLC, doing business as USA Mortgage, MLS ID 227262. This is not a commitment to lend. Additional terms and conditions apply. USA Mortgage is equal housing opportunity.
If you would like to share suggestions for future episodes, an intriguing ghost story, or simply tell us how much you love or hate us, please get in touch with us. You can reach us via email at newsworthywithstephencherry@gmail.com or send us a text at area code 540-709-1318.
And now, back to the story. Jerry, I want you to imagine you're standing in your yard. Sun is shining brightly when suddenly huge pieces of meat begin to fall from a clear sky.
Nice.
The phenomenon that occurred in Bath County, Kentucky on March 3rd, 1876. This bizarre event is known as the Kentucky Meat Shower. Insert Jerry joke. Has puzzled scientists and youth enthusiasts alike for over a century. Among the intriguing artifacts from this incident is a preserved sample of the mysterious meat, which has been the subject of various analysis, and theories. A piece of this meat was preserved and has been on display at the Monroe Moonsnick Medical and Science Museum at Transylvania University. Professor Kurt Goad, who has extensively studied the event, noted the amount of meat fell was enough to fill at least a horse wagon. The preserved sample has sparked numerous theories regarding its origin. One of the prominent theories suggests that the meat resulted from vultures vomiting mid-flight, which they will do if they get scattered or upset. Vultures are known to eject the contents of their stomach as a defense mechanism or to lighten their load when threatened. If one vulture begins this behavior, others in the vicinity might follow, potentially leading to widespread meat shower. However, this theory does face scrutiny. For instance, Miss Rebecca Crouch, who was a witness to the event, reported the sky was clear and observed nothing unusual when she looked up, challenging the vulture vomit hypothesis. In August of 2024, a significant development occurred when a chunk of the meat preserved in formaldehyde was returned to the Bath County History Museum. The piece had been under the care of Transylvania University. The return of this artifact has reignited interest and discussions about the event's origins, despite various analyses and numerous theories, including the vulture vomit hypothesis. The true origin of the Kentucky meat shower remains a mystery. The preserved samples continue to intrigue researchers and visitors alike, offering a tangible connection to one of history's most perplexing phenomena. Today's episode brought to you by our great sponsors, Ed Locke at USA Mortgage and Smoking Gun Jerky of Lincoln, Nebraska. Use code Cryptid10 for a great discount. And Jerry, if you can't see the light,
Be the light.